Okay, folks, it's your buddy Mike Messier. We're here. It's 2:05 in the morning, Saturday, I believe July 15th. I'm going to drink this beverage. This is sparkling, bubbly water. I just like the beverage. So tonight we're going to be doing a special What's in the Box Part 2. Now you might be saying, well, gee whiz, Mike, where's Part 1? Part 1's being uploaded here on One Pro Wrestling and Sports Fan channel. So you might be able to see it. You might have already watched it. And if you haven't, you can go back and watch part one. I was very animated. I was perhaps a little angry, as I tend to be. And but you can watch it or not. I also told my story of going to the cinema tonight. I was hoping to see the very popular film right now, Sound of Freedom, but there was a situation and I did not get to see the film. But that's okay. I will see it soon enough. So, folks, if you happen to be new here, if you're wondering what the hell's going on, this is where I do a little segment on this channel where I open stuff in the box. You know, I order stuff, I kind of forget what I ordered, and then weeks, months, or years later, I say, ah, shit, I better open that box. Just now, I opened the box, and the items that were in the box were so prevalent, I had to do a two-parter. And I decided to mix things up. I did the first part pre-taped, taped, because I didn't know if this would go on this channel, One Pro Wrestling and Sports Fan, or my other channel, One Mike Messier. That's where I do movie reviews and rants and so forth. And then I have a third channel, One Man in a Camera Films, where I basically show my own stuff. But here on One Pro Wrestling and Sports Fan, we're going to discover what's in this box of baseball cards. Now, I already opened the box. If you want to see the actual opening of the box, go back later and watch the pre-tape. So we'll see who we got here. These are Donruss cards, 1990. Not terribly expensive cards, probably not very valuable. In the other pack, I did get an Eddie Murray that I was kind of excited about, and a Wade Boggs. As I was saying earlier, the toughest thing with this whole deal is not to get the cards gummied up. So let's see who we got here. I'm not the baseball aficionado. I know enough about baseball to get by. Brett Saberlager. If you have any theories or any comments on these players, you're welcome to chime in. I'm going to go through these pretty quickly. I'm not going to read all their stats. If I happen to come across a card where I know the player, I know something about him, I'll say what I know. Otherwise, we'll just tear through these. Tracy Jones. It's interesting how things like baseball cards, wrestling magazines, comic books, they get valuable. And so you have generations of kids that are upset that their mommy threw away their comic books or their He-Man figures or something else of value. This one's a pretty good one. This one looks, oh yeah, this is the picture. Fernando Venezuela. I think this is probably the most, I'm going to guess this might be the most valuable card in this pack. Like I said, I didn't pay much for these cards. So I think, this one might be worth the price of admission alone. But I don't think these Donruss cards are very valuable. But this one might be, that's pretty cool. I'm pretty happy about that. Fernando, I think there was an ESPN Plus or ESPN doc about him, one of the 30 for 30s, or a full-length doc of some kind about Fernando. He was a real hero to the Latino people in LA and probably around the world. So good for him, good for us. Ken Phelps, I've heard this name. I don't really know much about him. August 6, 1954, 6'1", bats left, throws left. I can relate to that as a left-handed individual. Let's see what else we got here. Who's this fine gentleman? Let's see. Kurt Ford of the Phillies. Very nice. So it's been very hot. I am in the state of Florida. The heat has been hot, as tends to be the case. The summertime heat has kind of, I'm staying inside a lot until 4 or 5 in the afternoon or the night. At times, I've kind of adjusted my schedule. Some folks are really, they do well in the heat. I don't. You know what I mean? So if you're having a tough summer, rest assured that I am as well. But we'll get through it. We'll be okay. This is a nice name, Terry Kennedy. It sounds very official. It sounds very polite. Let me know if the audio is okay, folks. I hope the audio is fine. I'm trying to be respectful here. Kurt Wilkerson, fine gentleman. I'm sure he's had a nice life. It's interesting because these cards are from 1990, so that's, this point, that's 33 years ago. And the cards were probably photographed in 89 if the cards were the 1990. So, I mean, no offense, but some of these gentlemen might be deceased, or they might be old. Hey, my buddy is chiming in. Michael A.J. Norris is a frequent contributor. He's always keeping me informed of pop culture situations. We compare movie reviews. I believe Michael A.J. What part of the country are you in, Michael A.J.? Are you in? I want to say you're in the Midwest or Pennsylvania. Sorry, buddy, I kind of forgot where you're at geographically, but you can give a shout out to your hometown if you want. Yeah, this is the thing, buddy. I used to kind of be a big, I played t-ball, I played little league baseball a little bit, and I had my share of baseball cards. Probably the most interesting thing with me in baseball is I attended live. There was a player in the 90s named John Kruk, who was a big guy, and he had some batting records for a couple of seasons. I think he won a World Series too. I think he was often I want to say a designated hitter or a catcher, big fella. And I actually attended his last live game. And if you don't remember, John Kruk was a testicular cancer survivor, but he did lose one of the boys in that transaction. He did lose one testicle. And so when he played his last game of baseball at Camden Yards in Baltimore against the Orioles, he hit the ball. He got to first base. They put a designated runner in the game. They took John out. And so John did an interview with David Letterman a few days later, and Letterman said, hey, after you get pulled out of that game, after you got your single, and that was the last game you ever played, did you stick around the game? Did you stick around and watch the rest of the game for your teammates? And John said, no, I took my ball and I went home, referring to his singular testicle. Jeff Brentley, fine young man. So what do you got there for us, buddy? Mikey, something bothered me with WWE tonight. Michael Cole said Jimmy was injured and he out for foreseeable future. Okay, I did see, I won't lie to you, buddy. I did not see the whole show, but I saw the Jey Uso interview, the Jey Uso promo. And Ken Oberkfell, I think I've heard that name. Ken Oberkfell. So basically, Jey Uso, in my opinion, buddy, did a pretty good promo. He wants to be the head of the faction or the head of the family. He put a super kick on Paul Heyman, blah, blah, blah. It seemed like the fans were into him. As far as Jimmy being injured, I really don't know, man, if that's storyline shenanigans, if that was an actual in-ring injury that they're playing up for storyline. And I hate to say it, buddy, but, if Jimmy was injured and if it's a legitimate injury, not like a wrestling angle injury, we know that the Usos, both of them, have had some drunk driving situations in their personal lives. And I'd hate to think that, something like that might have happened. But the reason why I think that is because these guys have a history of being pulled over for DWIs and DUIs and all that crap. So I hope he's okay. I hope it's just a storyline angle, buddy. And if it is an injury, I hope it's something that comes and goes for him pretty quick. But I really don't know, buddy. Your guess is as good as mine. Just so you know, Michael, I think I told you this privately. I will be attending. I have tickets now for 3 NXT shows this summer here in Florida. We'll be having a little bit of an NXT revival. 3 shows. I think the first one's July 22nd, and then there's 2 back-to-back in August. So when I go to those NXT shows, I'll be taking still photography, making some montage videos. If you go to the shorts on this channel, I have some pretty good NXT highlight videos, and also NWA from Nuff Said pay-per-view. Bob Melvin, nice gentleman. Orioles, that was kind of the team for me when I was growing up. The Orioles haven't done much in a long time. I think the last title they won was in '82. Sergio Valdi. This guy sounds familiar. The Braves had some good teams in the 90s. I don't think they ever won the championship in the 90s, but they did have some big teams. What else happened there, Michael A.J. Norris, on Wrestling Tonight? I've been watching more UFC recently. I probably should do more UFC rants. I had fun with one a couple of weeks ago, and someone did request I do another UFC video, which I'm going to do. I just have to do some research. Donald Wayne Carmen. All right. Let's see here, buddy. Apparently, Conor McGregor in the world of UFC did not do the, USADA? He did not do the proper, he didn't apply for the drug test. And so I guess Conor can't fight until, I guess there's a time window of which you have to get this drug test to fight in the calendar year. So this whole Ultimate Fighter, season 31 that I've been watching, it's kind of a non-factor now. Like, they're not going to be able to have, at least in this calendar year, a fight between the 2 coaches, Conor being one of them, and the other guy, I'm drawing a blank on his name, but if you've been watching the UFC Ultimate Fighter this year, it's a blowout. The other coach has got 7 victories. Conor has 0 for his team. I watched an interesting YouTube video today. A gentleman dissected, you have the Ryan Sandberg. That's good. That's good, buddy. So you've met him as well. It's nice. The UFC was pretty good. Ozzy Guilin. I don't want to say his name wrong. I'm sure I just did. But basically, Kevin Mitchell, I've heard that name. Seems like a pleasant gentleman. Conor, his whole face looks different. His whole body is jacked up. I've actually been thinking, like, conspiracy theory stuff. Is this the actual Conor McGregor, or is this a replacement? Did they get some big goon and put all the Conor tattoos on him? If you've watched any of these conspiracy videos about, celebrities and stuff, and are these certain celebrities like replaced? I think Amanda Bynes had a controversy like that. Katy Perry is rumored to be the actual John Benet Ramsey. So, all these things. Paul McCartney is probably the most famous, something like that, like the celebrity replacement. Jose Manuel Oquendo. Very good. So it's just kind of funny. But if you look I've been watching this Ultimate Fighter this year, and Conor looks like he's been replaced, by Super Conor. But this guy did a video on YouTube today, and I think it was something simple. Oh, I remember this guy. This was Billy Ripken, the younger brother of Cal Ripken. Never had the same success, but he did get to the majors. I live in Chicago. All sports have won championship and great teams, but after years, teams just bombs, can't win anymore. Yeah, so the Bulls have been decent for a couple of years, but they haven't gotten to that championship. I don't think they've even gotten to the finals since the Jordan days. And the Bears, I think, was it 85? No, did the Bears win one like 10 years ago, buddy? Didn't they get to the didn't they lose to like Peyton Manning or something? I thought the Bears got to the championship game and lost. The Super Bowl. Am I right or am I making stuff up? You tell me. And then who else you got? The Blackhawks? Well, wait a minute. Didn't the Cubs win a couple years ago? I thought the Cubs ended that whole, you know, streak of bad luck. I thought the Cubs won. Hey, Mark's chiming in. Still having a hard time with your last name, Mark. I don't want to mispronounce it, but I'll give it a shot. Thielke? Is that German, perhaps? Yeah, the Cubs won. That's what I was saying. So AJ was just saying that he doesn't remember Chicago winning anything recently. But I do remember the Cubs winning because it was a big deal. Actually, Mark and AJ, if you want to see a movie that references when the Chicago Cubs started using lights in it's Comiskey Park, right? I think that was 1985 or 86 when they finally got lights because they never had lights before, so they had to play day games. There's a movie called About Last Night with a very young and quite attractive Demi Moore. And I guess a young and quite attractive, was it Rob Lowe? And they're playing, and John Belushi. And oh, here we go. Thanks, pal. Thielke. Very good. I like that, buddy. So Rob Lowe, this is a cool card. This business just picked up with this one. Rob Lowe, Demi Moore, and then the secondary characters are Jim Belushi, not John Belushi, and that's John Belushi's younger brother, and Elizabeth Perkins, who you might remember as the romantic interest in the movie Big from a few years later, 1988. So if you ever want to see a movie that has some interesting, they have some baseball scenes, they go to a Cubs game, the movie About Last Night, and it was written, I believe, by David Mamet. It was based on a David Mamet play. David Mamet is this fucking playwright who's written a bunch of stuff. They're pretty good, but I mean, he was kind of like the flavor of the day for 20 years. Jerry Reed. I've written a few stage plays. I'm trying to get more of them on the actual stage now that our friend has run its course. Oh, is that Daryl Strawberry? That's pretty damn good. Hey, Dwight Gooden came to my high school one year, buddy. Can you imagine that? Dwight Gooden came to my high school and did a speech. I could be wrong, but I think it might have been like a community service because I don't think he had any other reason to be there. He wasn't being there because he wanted to be, but he was really nice and everything. Mikey, can you find out why the Barbarian movie we both saw had no Blu-ray or DVD or 4K, can't stream it other than Max? Are you talking about Conan the Barbarian with Arnold? That is a good question, buddy. I can do some research. I did see the Conan the Barbarian in the movie theater not too long ago. It was, I want to say, some point in 2022, maybe October. They did a re-release of it. I see so many movies, guys. Are you talking? You're not talking. That one. Yeah. The one. This only came out like 3 or 4 months ago. I saw that. You're right. The movie is called Barbarian, which was kind of a weird name for it. And I'm trying to remember. There's like the house and the fucking the girl and the house and the creature and all this crazy shit. I did see it. I did review it. It was from what I remember was pretty gory. Oh man, Jose Canseco, pre-steroid era. The pre-steroid era Jose, man, look, he's like normal sized. That's great. That's a horror movie. Yeah, so I was telling AJ Mark that I watched this YouTube video today about why does Conor McGregor look so different, and the video is pretty fun because the guy goes through like Conor getting hair replacement surgery. What's this guy's name? Howard Michael Johnson. He's so successful in baseball. He has a whole bunch of hotels named after him. Let me just beverage. Yeah. So basically the Connor thing, the guy concluded PEDs, alcohol, and cocaine. Is that Dion? Hey, man, look. Mikey, you have Frank Thomas rookie card without his name. I heard worth a lot now. I don't know if I have that. Did you see that in there? I mean, I don't have it. But Dion. Thanks for the support, Mark. Yeah. Whoa. I don't know if you're a UFC guy, Mark, or Jesus. I have this little, God, fuck. Hold on, gentlemen. I have this little thingamajig. This is my tripod, and it's fallen to pieces. Somebody put me together. Faith no more. But yeah, look, we got a Dion in here, guys. Dion looking pretty good. It's my buddy Laza there. How you doing, Laza? Laza, I saw I told you I saw that movie, the horror movie from Australia. I saw a sneak preview of it. I think I'm one of the first people to see it. Talk to Me. It was good. It wasn't the most unique horror film, but I did give it a pretty good review. Tony Gwynn. I got some good cards here, folks. We got Neon Dion. Tonight, I did have a funny situation. I tried to go see Sound of Freedom. I was not able to see the movie. If you watch my other video from tonight, the part one of this video, this is actually a two-parter. I did the part one. So is he officially signed, AJ? Because that would be great. You might or may not know that I've actually spent some time with Brian Pillman Jr. He endorsed my book, which was very nice of him. He actually did a What's in the Box, the celebrity What's in the Box, and he endorsed my book, The Distance from Avalon, which of course I can't find right now. But he's a nice guy. He lived here in Jacksonville for a while when he was doing AEW, but they never really used him to the full extent. I could see him doing something with Cody. That's a good question there, buddy. The funny thing is, Mark, I do have one football card of significant value that I can show you. Maybe I'll do another video for that because I could, if I stand up, I might knock over the phone. And then if I stand up, I want to be kind of exposing my body to you guys, which I'm fully dressed, trust me, but I just don't want to give you that awkward shot of a man standing up, you know what I mean, in front of the camera. I guess I could move the camera. Yeah, this guy's got a tough name. Paul Andre Assenmacher. Oh man, what a childhood. Look, that's tough. Assenmacher. I thought Messier was tough as a child. Yeah, buddy, I still have some I have some other wrestling cards right here. I'll show you when we're almost done with these. I got a few wrestling cards I can show. Chris Carpenter. Nice pitching shot. Baseball's an interesting game. It does take patience to watch, but like watching a movie these days is like watching a fucking baseball game. Like this Spider-Man movie is 2 hours and 20 minutes. I think it's a great one. I don't know if you guys have seen that. Let's see. They had a showing of Talk to Me Friday at my local cinema. However, I was too lazy to go. Hey, at least you're man enough to admit it, buddy. Now, Laza is over in Australia, Brisbane. I'm trying to learn all these Australian things so I can keep up with Laza. Is it hot there in the summer, or is like our summer your winter? You know what I mean? Like, what are the kangaroos wearing their sweaters, or are they going on natural? We don't get kangaroos over here. There was a kangaroo in that movie, and Talk to Me, there's a fucking kangaroo. I like stuff like that. Like when you're in Florida, you should have a fucking orange. When you're in Australia, you should have a kangaroo. When you're in Chicago, you should have a bratwurst. Where are you at, Mark? What did they have where you're at? This guy, I've heard his name, Ben McDonald. So I think the winner tonight is this Deion Sanders card. These are Donruss. I'm really kind of just getting back into this stuff. I was bitching earlier about stuff and saying So I was right. You're in the middle of winter right now, buddy. I was bitching earlier that, like a lot of kids, a lot of my cool stuff from childhood was thrown out or given away by adults, not myself. And not that I'm bitter and angry about it, but I'm bitter and angry about it. So I mean, I'm sure a lot of people can relate to that shit. Um, you know what I mean? And I've also moved around a lot. I do have this vat of action figures. This is a classic, Big John stud, but I actually put this guy up for eBay tonight, which I had mixed feelings about. But the reality, guys, is I'm probably going to be moving again soon. A couple of years, and by soon I mean a few years, not this year. But I just want to lessen my load. I heard about this. I saw some YouTube titles. My buddy Joe Cronin did a whole big thing about it. I don't really. So is it blood that they're not doing now? Is AEW no juicing, no blooding, no Tully and Magnum in the cage? What's going on with that? There's a nice Road Warrior animal for you. You tell me, buddy. So what are they banned exactly? Fighting in the crowd? I mean, I know why. Because the writing would be on the wall, and I got to give the guy credit on the ad-free shows that the Max streaming service is probably going to start doing AEW really soon. The guy on ad-free shows was predicting that it's going to be for the All-In show, the AEW at Wembley Stadium. So if that's the case, that would make total sense. That would be the puzzle coming together. That if they're going to have a corporate sponsor like Max probably has their preferences. They don't want blood. They don't want fighting in the crowd. And so that's the problem, guys. When something becomes corporate, then it's not as much fun for the hardcore people like us. Also, Mikey Messier, what do you think of the big strike in Hollywood issue going on? Well, buddy, I'm actually I'm a SAG-AFTRA member, so I'm officially on strike. So I've been I've been protesting in my own home, walking around in a circle, refusing to act. But here I am with you guys. This is an exception. I guess. I mean, the union stuff. I'll tell you this. I think it is a good idea to go on strike because apparently the big issues, two big things: streaming, the money from streaming hasn't been figured out to the actor's satisfaction, at least as far as residuals and so forth. The other big thing is the whole AI stuff, and I think it was 2 months ago that everyone started talking about AI. I'm sure it's been going on for decades, but the AI thing really picked up this year, and there's a lot of actors concerned that if you die, say like a Chadwick Boseman died a few years ago, Chadwick Boseman from Black Panther in 42, they could take images of his face and kind of deep fake them onto another actor and use Chadwick's voice and re-manipulate him. And if you remember, like that Tupac thing from 10 years ago when they, oh, look, it's Tupac dancing around. It's like, so would Chadwick's family get residuals if they were to use Chadwick's image if he were to die? Or he did die. So I'm just using Chadwick as an example. It could be anybody. It could be me, Or they could take James Dean, who only did 3 movies. But wouldn't people want to see a 4th James Dean movie? And hey, he's been dead so long, he won't mind. So there are some real issues here, folks. And I think the reason why they do a strike is because they can't reach an agreement, and they have to strike, in this case, the actors and the writers, until they can reach an agreement. New movie from Christopher Nolan is 3 hours and has no CGI, Mikey. Well, I like the fact that it has no CGI. I like the fact that it's Christopher Nolan. The 3 hours thing, I'm just sick of these, 3-hour movies, man. And I saw a movie called Tar that was up for some awards this past year. That was 4 hours. And guys, you know me, I make my own movies. I do them on a shoestring budget or no budget. Not that I wouldn't want more money to make these movies, but I just don't have it right now, at least. And so when I see a movie that's 4 hours long, I'm sitting there trying to like edit the movie in my mind, and that's what I did with Tar. It's nothing against Kate Blanchett; she's a great actress, but come on. Um, I thought about running an AI pro wrestling promotion, milk it for what it's worth before the AI turn on me and take out the humans. Good idea, buddy. And look, here's some other issues, man. I mean, I'm a writer, I write scripts. If I had an AI program where I could just take my screenplay and put it into the fucking AI program and come out with a decent looking animated movie, I'd probably be pretty psyched about it. So I mean the technology could be used for good, but if you're saying, hey, we don't need, Mike Messier or DiCaprio or George Clooney, we can just, AI some acting together, that's not so good. So I mean, the other thing that's interesting, gentlemen, is that other countries besides the United States, the Asian countries apparently have all these sanctions and rules and guidelines for using AI. And the United States is slow. We haven't done that yet. Okay, I got some other stuff I can show you guys. This I've already opened, but you haven't seen it, so it's new to you. This was another purchase. And these were a little, I would say, perhaps a little disappointing because I think these are just kind of replicant cards. This is the tag team of Mike Lane and who's the other guy? I think it's Mike Davis and Tommy Lane, the Rock and Roll RPMs. And I think these cards are reproduction. They don't even have backs. Why am I showing you? Just showing you that these cards were kind of chintzy. I got them, really cheap from eBay, but they're not the best. They were nostalgic. That's why I got them. You want to watch somehow Killer Inside Me, Casey Affleck and Jessica Alba? That movie is tough. I haven't seen that one, buddy, and I don't think I've even heard of it. But I mean, Jessica Alba is really a gorgeous woman. I did see, Casey Affleck, not Ben Affleck. I saw a movie for the first time last night. You guys have probably seen it, Dazed and Confused, with a young Matthew McConaughey, very young Mila Djokovic, and a young Ben Affleck, not Casey Affleck. A woman who was in one of my films, Blood Sugar Sedace, Jamie Tennille. She was actually in Manchester by the Sea with Casey Affleck. So I thought I'd mention it as a way for you guys to also subscribe to One Man and a Camera Films YouTube channel. I think my buddy Laza there is a subscriber. Yeah, buddy, I had never seen it until last night. Okay, folks, I'm going to do a little reenactment of my childhood, if you're ready for it. So when I was about this age, right, that's me as a youth. This well, not this one in particular, but this guy was my first action figure purchase. And obviously this is like the 1990s or the 2000s version. And the one that I got was like the original version. But yeah, that's the young Mike, and that's his first action figure. And here we are all these years later. I was having issues with my, I think my haircut's the same, guys. Let's see. Oh my God, you wrote a nice chapter here, buddy. AEW, oh, okay, thank you. You copied and pasted. All right, so this is fun. AEW's new list of banned moves and actions, chair shots to the head. They haven't done a whole lot of those. I mean, they had the one with Cody and what's his face, Sean Spears. Chair shots to the back of the head. That makes sense. Buckle bombs. Okay. Moves where a wrestler falls backward into a turnbuckle. Interesting. Imitating concussion or seizure symptoms while selling a move. Interesting. Spitting. Bleeding while in the crowd. Yeah, I can go with that. That makes sense. Using or weapons or projectiles in the crowd. Okay, we wouldn't have had ECW if this was around, but okay. That one maybe I don't like because I think like the Stadium Stampede matches and stuff, they've definitely done that. And I think that's kind of a fun killer. Throwing anything with blood on it into the crowd, I agree with that. You want to avoid lawsuits. taking food and drinks from fans in the crowd. They did have that thing with MJF, and apparently he grabbed what he thought was a cup of water and threw it on a kid, and it turned out to be a cup full of vodka or something, and he threw it on the kid. So yeah, I can think that's a good idea. Making contact with fans in the crowd. I mean, that's how CM Punk twisted his ankle, and that's how he lost all that time. Let's see. Okay, so now they've got a second. Okay, first of all, let's go back to that first list, buddy. And is there anything here that I disagree with? There was one, using weapons or projectiles in the crowd. I mean, I think that's, I see why they're doing it, but I think that might kill a little bit of fun, but it's probably for the best. The spitting thing, I mean, as a fan, I think that's great. I think spitting is one of the most disgusting things in the world. I'm not much of a spitter, and I hate when, like, especially guys, especially like men, like they snort and then they spit. So I'm all for like a ban of spitting for everybody. Like nobody should spit ever, unless it's in the privacy of their own home bathroom. So yeah, I'm good with the non-spitting. The imitating concussion or seizure symptoms while selling a move. That's interesting. I mean, I don't think anyone's ever really done that, but I guess that's good. The chair shots to the head. I mean, I think we've learned enough about concussion stuff, but that's probably smart. The buckle bomb is almost like a shout out to Seth Rollins, because I think he's the only guy that screwed people up with buckle bombs. Moves where a wrestler falls backward into a turnbuckle. I'm trying to think of what the fuck that would be. I mean, they have stuff like if you're trying to give a guy a spinning toe hold and he kicks you off and you get smashed into the corner, but I don't know. That one's interesting to me. So here's the stuff that requires pre-approval. Laza, very good, buddy, for doing this. Spots and bumps on the ring apron and outside. Table, ladder, chair spots in and out of the ring. Only allowed with padding. Any elevated spots outside of the barricades. Dive-in ladder spots on stage around the arena and other places inside the ring. All pile driver tombstone variations, including sit-down drivers, inverted poison hurricane rana inverted breakers, high-risk dives or top rope moves. Oh, boy. Is that the end of the list, buddy, or do we have more? And then AJ is chiming in. Mikey is Don Juan, who used to manage Kenny Omega. So that's, what's that guy's name? God. Not Don Owen. That was the promoter. What's that fucker's name? Don. I know who you're talking about. Like the invisible hand guy who was in WWF in the 90s. Yeah, give me his name. I can't remember. Don something. Trying to be AEW. Oh, yeah. Is Don, what's Don's last name, guys? The guy that used to manage Omega. Thank you. Thanks, Mark. Jesus. I need like an assistant in here to do this shit for me. Don Callis. I don't think he's trying to be the AEW version of Paul Heyman. I think he is. I mean, you know what I mean? But I think that's been going on for 2 years now, buddy. I mean, if you go back to when Don Callis, I remember watching it when he was doing commentary, and I think he was with Impact Wrestling at the time, and Impact was kind of, getting a few bones from AEW, and Don Callis was on AEW Dynamite doing commentary for Kenny Omega, challenging Jon Moxley for that AEW title. I think that was Moxley's second title run out of 4, or maybe his first. I guess it was his first. And Don Callis got involved in the match and helped Kenny Omega win the title, and they were off and running as a heel thing. And I think he has been, buddy. I mean, that's what I would say. I don't think he's trying to be. I think he is. And Heyman came first as far as this big stage. But, I mean, Callis has put his time in. I mean, there's a story apparently that a young Don Callis was originally supposed to be like a tag team partner for Rick Martel, like in the mid-90s WWF. So he's been around the block. But he also took like 10 or 15 years away from wrestling too, Don Callis. Mike, I took the list from a post Sheldon Goldberg did with the AEW band pre-approval list. Yeah, Sheldon's a good guy. If you guys don't know who Sheldon Goldberg is, you can probably Facebook friend him. You can give him my name if you want. But Sheldon is a promoter in New England. I used to go to his shows, so you might have seen some back and forth with me and Sheldon on his posts because we do know each other in real life. Sheldon ran this promotion. He still does. New England Championship Wrestling. I think the biggest name to come out of there is Sasha Banks or Mercedes Monet. But yeah, she was a big part of their shows. They used to have Pat the Brat Piper, who was that Roddy Piper tribute guy from King of the Ring '94. He was always there. Let's see what else. They would, they were good. I mean, New England Championship Wrestling. I'm trying to think if they had other big names. What was good about New England Championship Wrestling was, for the most part, they really didn't do that thing where you hire some big former WWF guy. They just really raised their own talent, but they would get 300 or 400 people. They did do things like they had Harley Race. I had a picture in here at one point of me and Harley Race. They brought Harley Race in before he got really, elderly. And I have a nice picture of me and Harley Race from an ECW show. They would also do a thing every year, a one night, a round robin tournament. I think it was like 6 wrestlers would be in a tournament where they would have to wrestle more than once. And it was not a single elimination. It was like some other way of doing a tournament, like a Japanese type of thing. So Sheldon Goldberg is a smart guy. And also, for you ECW revisionists or ECW historians, I should say, do you remember that Barely Legal match with the Japanese 6-man tag? Sheldon Goldberg is the reason that match took place at that ECW Barely Legal pay-per-view. Sheldon is the one that brokered that deal. He's the one that brokered that deal with the Japanese wrestlers, I believe from was it Hayabusa Pro Wrestling or something like that. He brokered that with, or Michinoku Pro. He brokered that deal between Michinoku Pro and Heyman. So he is a Heyman apologist. I did kind of get Sheldon a little bit in the crosshairs because he was mentioning that, wrestlers and promoters, and I somehow it came up to the Eric Koulos incident. Eric Koulos and New Jack no longer with us, but I was there for that. I was in attendance for the New Jack Eric Koulos situation. Mike, I think The Rock is coming back. Grayson Waller trying to bait him in a match or something. You never know, buddy. I mean, it could also be a thing where they just do another, right? I mean, that the Rock's last match was against Eric Rowan at that WrestleMania. That's his last official match. Was what, 7 years ago? And he beat Eric Rowan in 9 seconds. I'm at 10%, guys. Just so you know, I'm going to do this for a few more minutes. But if you have any more quick comments, questions, I will show you the football card in question mark on a future video. But we're running out of steam here. I could go over and plug the fucking phone in, I guess, and save us all the trouble, but I won't. But yeah, if you have any more comments or questions, let's get them in. I'm going to wrap this up in about a minute and a half. So type quickly, gentlemen. So let's see what else. I'm trying to think if I have anything else of interest. I do have a bunch of toothpicks. I have not seen MLW live. Michael AJ Norris, I have not. I have seen Ring of Honor live, going back to 2002. I saw 2 shows that they did in Boston area. One had a tag team match with CM Punk and somebody against Raven and somebody. Their first show in Boston, I think, was called Boston. ROH Invades Boston, and they actually had Mark Briscoe versus Jay Briscoe versus each other. And I think at the time, Mark Briscoe, the younger Briscoe, was not allowed to wrestle in the state of Pennsylvania, but he could wrestle in Massachusetts. And so that's why they had that match. It might have been his first ever match, Mark Briscoe against Jay Briscoe. It's on YouTube. It's on the ROH thing. It's a really good match. And I went to the tag team title tournament, the first ever tag team title tournament for ROH. And on that same show, Christopher Daniels lost the title God, what's the guy's name that beat him? Uh, he passed away about 2 years ago. I'm trying to think of that guy's name. He was really good. More AEW new list of moves and actions that require pre-approval, high-risk dives or top rope moves, intentional bleeding of any sort, not just blading. Okay, interesting. Throwing people into, through, over the ring steps, commentary table, bell table or guardrails, barricades, weapon usage, chairs, pipes, kendo sticks, hammers, ring bells, bats, chains, etc. Title belts, wow, thumbtacks, skewers, barbed wire, and other sharp puncturing objects like powders, aerosol spray. Even more weapon usage, chairs, pipes, kendo sticks, hammers, ring bells, bats, chains. There goes my social life, guys. Skewers, barbed wire, powders, aerosol. Okay. Choking, strangling with hands or whipping or hanging spots, injury spots or angles. Boy, any physicality in the. I'll let you finish that up, buddy. Yeah, I don't know if you're typing all this or hopefully you're just copying and pasting this stuff and you're not actually typing because you could like highlight everything and then paste it in here. I think that would work. Mikey, I don't drive, but I feel bad for people who do. Why is gas so priced these days? Man, I'm not sure if you guys we can do a little gas poll. I think yesterday I paid $3.03 a gallon. That was at a BJ's. I paid $20 for a year subscription to BJ's, a year's membership. And the only thing I really do at BJ's is get gas. So I have to make a special trip, and then I have to kind of weigh, like, is going to BJ's to get gas worth the 20 minutes of driving over there to get it? But I think, Florida's pretty good. I mean, for gas price, I don't know what other people are paying. If you guys want to type that in. Do you have gas in Australia, Laza? I'm sure you do. You're not just, driving around on kangaroo blood, I assume. That would be pretty gross. One more AW list of moves and actions that require pre-approval. Any physicality involving refs, managers, extras, celebrities, or celebrity guests. Okay. Copy and pasted. That was, no, I appreciate it, buddy. I appreciate your efforts. And I'm glad that you didn't type, God forbid we do any work. But I've been working on some screenplays this week. Some more art. Let's see. This is my favorite snack these days, these pretzel bites. Normally I just get the Walmart brand, but oh my God, Mark, that's horrible. Sorry to hear that, man. I'm not even joking. Like, that sucks, dude. I don't know if you have BJ's there, if that would bring that down a little bit for you, or Sam's Club, if they have gas. Those places are Ultimate Warrior for you. That's currently on the Foreign Object eBay store. I don't know if you guys check out my eBay store, but I do have the Foreign Object, all lowercase, one word, the Foreign Object, lowercase. I do have some cool wrestling stuff up there. I'm just kind of lightening my load. I don't know if you guys know, but I've moved 4 times in the last 5 years. And every time I move, it's a pain in the ass because I have like at least 2 car fulls of stuff. And it's just, so I'm trying to lighten some stuff. I'm selling some stuff. Some stuff's harder to sell and get rid of than others. But, if you guys, I think Laza bought my book, which I do appreciate. But you guys are welcome to look it over at Amazon. You read a few pages for free. I think Laza would say it's a decent book. It's got a good picture of me on the cover, at least. This is one of my books. And what else, guys? I think tomorrow night I will be doing a live. If you guys if you have nothing to do tomorrow at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, I don't know what time that would be in Australia time, but you're in Washington, so I think 9 p.m. for me tomorrow would that be like 6 for you, Mark? Would that be like 5 or 6? I'm not sure if it's 3 hours or 4 hours, but 9 p.m. EDT tomorrow night. Right before the main card of UFC, but I will be going live with our buddy Jimmy Faluca, who I think you've had some interactions with, Mark. You can chime in and give him a hard time, but we're going to be doing a live stream on wrestling, summertime wrestling memories. You may or may not know that I was there in Baltimore when Ron Simmons. I had a fucking Ron Simmons action figure here a second ago. When Ron Simmons won the title from Big Van Vader, I was there in attendance as a young child. So I'll be sharing that memory. I also attended as an infant the Great American Bash when Flair fought Funk on pay-per-view. And the year before that, Flair and Luger. I also, I've had some pretty good wrestling memories in the summertime. The night that the NWO was formed, I was actually at a live pro wrestling show, but it wasn't the NWO WCW Bash at the Beach. It was a different show. So I'm going to be sharing some wrestling memories. The summertime is an interesting time for pro wrestling because the school's out for summer, which you think would help bolster the ratings and the attendance. But at the same time, it's like people don't want to watch TV as much in the summer. They want to go out and do stuff. So it's kind of an interesting time. I think one thing, now that I'm thinking about it, I'm just kind of brainstorming, but the Calgary Stampede 1997, that's one of the best all-time ever pay-per-views. Also is really nice because I think it was only 2 hours long or an hour and a half long. And it was a really tight little card. I think they only had 5 matches on it. I think it started with Vader versus Undertaker, and I think they had a Triple H Mankind match on that show, and then of course the big 10-man tag. So I'm definitely going to mention that one. So that's it, guys. Grayson Waller was known as Matty Wahlberg before WWE. Yeah, the Wahlbergs, that's an interesting thing, buddy. Like I said, I came from Rhode Island before I lived here in Florida, and the Wahlbergs are like a big deal in Massachusetts. And, so I like Mark Wahlberg. I'll leave it at that. And Donnie Wahlberg. As far as the rest, no opinion or less than favorable. But I do like Mark Wahlberg's acting. Mikey, I love the movie Ready to Rumble. Yeah, it's when I think about that, buddy, fun movie. Oliver Platt was the guy that played the champion wrestler. He was also in the show Civil Wars with Mariel Hemingway that I used to watch as a kid. And there was another actor on that show, Civil Wars, that I bumped into in Los Angeles once upon a time. I can't remember his name, but the lead guy on Civil Wars, and Oliver Platt was like the supporting guy. That was a TV show about divorce lawyers before Oliver Platt did the Ready to Rumble. And all-time 90s babe, who I feel that her life has just gone so sour, it's sad, is Rose McGowan. I mean, if you ever saw Jawbreaker, which you've probably seen her, Mark's probably seen Jawbreaker a bunch of times, but, Rose McGowan, one of the hottest women ever. And she's just, the whole Harvey stuff is horrible. Yeah, man, I should have mentioned Mantar earlier. I'm a little bit in shock. I've been watching my buddy Michael Monte and the Pharaoh, Jimmy Pharaoh. Good guys. I've been on their show a bunch of times, and they actually became friends with Mantar. So they've been mentioning Mantar. They had a whole tribute show to him, and I just watched it on YouTube last night. And Mantar started to do some podcasting for the Monte and the Pharaoh YouTube channel. And he was becoming pretty friendly with them. And he was only 55 years old. And it makes you think, guys, I mean, there's an expression, we're here for a good time, not for a long time. So with that, we'll say a peace out to Mantar. Any final comments before we get to 55 minutes? Make them quick, guys. But yeah, Mantar, man, I mean, he was a fun guy. Yeah, I agree, Laza. I think, when WCW, I should have talked a lot of stuff I could talk about, but when WCW died, like in that day in 2001, March, I believe, it was like losing a friend, and it sounds a little bit dramatic, but if you're a real wrestling fan and you're watching pretty much my favorite promotion, I mean, I think, yes, the last couple of years of WCW were tough, but until then, I was a big WCW guy. It's like watching a friend go in the casket, like watching Han Solo get dunked into the frozen stuff. Yeah, the Death of WCW book. The book Nitro by Guy Evans that Bischoff always talks about is really good. Hey guys, look, 9 p.m. tomorrow night on this channel, One Pro Wrestling and Sports Fan. Me and Jimmy Faluca going live. I hope you guys can make it. Yeah, that Sid injury. I did a video about that, buddy. Look it up. The Johnny Ace Sid thing. I'm signing off, guys. Good night.